Hello everyone, this is Gwydion, and today I'm going to show you how to do character creation for Shadowdark in Fantasy Grounds Unity. Shadowdark is a role-playing game. It's currently available, at least at the time of this video, on Kickstarter. It's from Kelsey Dion of the Arcane Library. Kelsey is a tremendous author, and she's written a number of 5e adventures such as Secrets of Skyhorn Lighthouse, Temple of Basilisk Cult, and many others. But she's now created her own role-playing game system called Shadowdark. Kind of an old school type of a role-playing game, and you can get the Quickstart rules, and I'll put a link to them, but you can get them for free. So I'll put a link to where you can find those, and time permitting, ultimately I'd like to get the core rules or the Quickstart rules into a module into Fantasy Grounds to make this even easier to use, but for now, just trying to get the rule set in so that people can use Fantasy Grounds to play Shadowdark. Kelsey was kind enough to give me permission to convert the Quickstart rules into Fantasy Grounds Unity, and I'm using a generic rule set system called CrossCore that was created by Damned. Damned is very active on the Fantasy Grounds community, and he actually created this extension that you see that's the background image on my computer here, and it's actually a dungeon that is from Shadowdark. So that's all I'll say for now. So let's jump into character creation, and I am going to release this for free on the Fantasy Grounds Forge. So hopefully within the next few days. So stay tuned, and I'll link that in the video once it's up. So let's start with character creation. I'm going to click on characters, and I've created a template that you can use to that has most of the attributes and checks and what have you. Actually, let me get rid of this. Need that. And I'm going to create a new character. Let's just call this character Gwydion. And for now, I'm going to make sure all of the subheadings are the same. So we have checks here. Checks. Just retyping it. And we're going to call this other roles talents. This will be weapon/armor. And finally, spells is fine. Okay. So let's click on a story entry that I created for how to create a character in Shadowdark. So we're going to start with background. So I'll click on this link here, and I'm just going to roll for it just to make it fun. So this is a rollable table I created. And urchin, that's interesting. I feel like whenever I roll this table, it comes up urchin. So we're going to come here, and this is formatted text. So we're going to call this background. And I'm going to change the formatting here, and I'm going to drag and drop this up here. So now you can have a little notation of what your background is. All right, I'm going to clear this. In fact, let's do this to make it easier for later. All right. So the next is stats. So per the Shadowdark rules, it's old school. You do 3d6 in order. So I'm going to drag over strength first. And actually, I could have made these all zeros, but for now, I kind of have these pre-populated. But you'll see each attribute or stat has the name of the attribute, and you'll actually put the actual number here and then the modifier. So we'll get to that in a second. But let's start. Roll our first. Ooh, 7. Oh, it looked a little worse than I thought. So we're going to click on Control and then mouse wheel down to get that to a 7. And then let's click on strength, and you can see in the description down here, a 7 means I'm a -2. So let's move that down to -2. Then dexterity is next. So we'll drag dexterity over, and we'll roll our 3d6 here, which I've hotkeyed. It's not bad, 13. So we're going to move that up to a 13. And then again, we can look here, a 13 is a +1. We'll make that a +1. So next is Constitution. Let's roll our Constitution. 10. Okay, not bad, not bad. And that should be, 0. Constitution, I believe next is Intelligence. Drag Intelligence over. And keep doing that. We'll do this, and we'll roll for Intelligence. Okay, 11. Not bad, not bad at all. But again, I think that is 0. Make that 11 is 0. Yep. All right, clear that out. So intelligence, wisdom is next. Roll for our wisdom. 11. Okay, it's not bad. Not bad. No horrible. Yeah, well, of course I say that now. My charisma will probably be horrible. Oh, drag charisma over here. Let's roll my 3d6. 11. Okay. Actually, across the board, he's not bad. Yes, I'd probably go like thief or something if I was picking for real. But let's go back in here now and let's do Ancestries next. So I'm going to click on this link. And again, I have these records. And I can show you in another video where these are. They're basically on the right-hand rail here under roles. So I got a half orc. So I'm going to drag this half orc under roles and talents. So now you can have a link here with some information. Powering Tusk warriors who are as daring as humans and as relentless as orcs. So you know the common and orcish language. So let's go into our notes tab here. And over on my roles here on the campaign side, I have a bunch of roles which are just records. And if I click on languages, you'll see I have all my languages here. So I know common, so I can drag common here. And I know orcish, I can drag orcish there. So we can change this label to language. And then we can do the same down here. And you can label those whatever you want. And then we have mighty. So again, under my roles, I have my ancestries and I have my talents here. These are just notes for the most part. So if I click on mighty and drag it into my roles here, again, it just gives me a little bit of a record so that later in character creation, I'll remember this gives me a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls with melee weapons. All right, let's clear this out. What's next? Class. Click on this link here. So I have my classes, and you can get your classes over here as well. But I'm going to roll for a class. Why not? Just make it fun. Fighter. All right, maybe it'll be a dexterous fighter. So now what I'm going to do is drag this record. You can see how right now this link shows as 0. That's my level. So if I drag and drop fighter up here, you can see it populates. Gwydion's now a first level fighter. I need 10 experience for the next level, and I get 1d8 for health. So before we do anything else, let's go ahead and let's roll my 1d8. So all I need to do is find my d8 here, throw it into chat. Oh, 8, that's nice. And if I remember right, at first level, I guess I could have waited, but hit points equals your class hit points die plus my con modifier. Con modifier is 0, so I get 8 to start. So I'm going to control and scroll up for my health or my hit points to 8. And then let's look at the rest of these. Title. So I don't know my alignment yet. I haven't picked it. But so let's hold on that for a second. But then I get weapon mastery for part of my class. So if I go into my roles section and I go to fighter talents, because I'm a fighter, I have weapon mastery. Let's drag and drop that onto other roles and talents. Grit. Okay, I have grit here as well. So let's drag and drop grit here. Okay, so weapon mastery is going to give me a +1 attack and damage with that type of weapon. So we're going to change this value to a 1. Unlock the record, change that to a 1. And now I could have done it here too, actually, I think. Yeah, could have just done it here. So I know that's a 1. And then for grit, this is something we'll just have to remember. We have advantage on checks to overcome opposing force, such as kicking a stuck door. So that's something that you'll just, when you go to your rolls, you would remember to roll for advantage. Holler, I don't know if yeah, I did, good. Drag and drop holler down here too. Maybe it won't let me, good. There we go. That just says I have a little bit more, add my constitution modifier positive to my gear slots. It's not right now, so it doesn't do much. All right, so let's do, so I get all weapons, all armor. You might want to make a note of that somewhere, but you can always click on your fighter here and abilities section, and then this first level, and it'll tell you everything you've gotten. So if you ever forget, you can kind of come back here and it'll. So let's see, all armor, shields, weapons, 1 class talent roll. So let's go to my tables again, and we're going to go to my fighter talent. All right, and we're going to roll for my fighter talent. I rolled a 3, which is +1 melee and ranged attacks. If you don't want to forget that you got that, you can drag that. I just put it here. I called it +1 attack, I believe. So +1 melee and ranged attack. So we'll remember that. All right, so now let's pick our alignment. So I created a table. You don't have to. Let's just roll on my table. And okay, so I'm neutral. So if you remember right, my neutral title up here is warrior. So if I want to make this in my notes, I can say, hey, alignment. You can change the text if you don't like this formatting, but I'll say neutral. And then I'll also say title. And I'll say warrior. All right. I've got my class talent. I've got my hit points. I've got my title. So now we've got 2d6 plus 5 times 5 gold. Let's clear this out. And then I've got my 2d6 down here. And all you need to do is left click, hold, and then right click and throw these two in. I just happen to hotkey it, but you can roll that there. Ugh, not a very good roll. So 3 times 5 is 15. So I can put here 15. And if you want to put your gold piece, then you can put SP for silver piece. And I believe it's copper pennies or copper pieces. So, okay. So the only thing I haven't done yet is let's get my strength checks and all my checks on here. So let's drag and drop my checks. So we'll just drag these all over. So the way I've done this, and it was at the encouragement of Damned and a few others, is I just created these as rolls. So if you open these up, you'll see it's rolling 1d20 plus my strength modifier for strength. So and then I also created advantage and disadvantage rolls. So the GM they'll know what the target number is, but you may not. So let's just say I'm rolling a strength check. I double click on this here. So the GM will see that, okay, 1d20 minus 2, because my strength is minus 2. So I've got a 15. Now let's say I'm rolling a dex check with advantage. So the second slot of all of these is advantage. So double click and I'm rolling 2 dice now. I got a 9 plus 1 for a 10. So I think it works pretty well. So let's see. The only thing we have left now is let's do our inventory. So I've got 15 gold pieces. The one thing I've created all of the items under this items tab here. So I've got basic gear, so all the basic gear here, and a little description on each, like crossbow bolts, ammunition for crossbows. And I've got armor, I've got weapons, and I've got attacks, and I've got damage. So let's look. The only parcel I've created so far, which combines a bunch of items, is the crawling kit. So the crawling kit, if I remember right, is how much? Crawling kit is 7 gold pieces. So you know what? Let's do that. It'll be fun. So what I do, let's just say I want to use this 7 gold pieces. So I'm going to drag and drop this in my inventory, and it'll explode it for me. So I've created the weights, and I'm just using that as like an item slot. If I remember right, that's how it works. So backpack, I believe, should be 0. So I set that to 0. Torch, there's 2 of these. So it's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6 for 2 torches. So you have 6 total weight. So I know if that was 7, then I need to move this down to 8. I'm just controlling and left clicking with a scroll wheel. So let's say that I'm a fighter. I don't know. I'm going to give myself let's do a dagger. Yeah, let's do a dagger. Why not? So a dagger, if I remember right, it's 10 gold pieces. That can't be right. I'll check all these before. Yeah, dagger is 1 gold piece. So I'll make sure I correct that. 1 gold piece. All right, so let's put on, I'm going to say I have a dagger, so you can drag it into inventory, and I probably should have created the actual dagger itself. We'll just drag it over. Let's see how this works. Actually, what I want to do, let's see if this will work. Dagger damage, dagger dex, and dagger strength. Let's see if it put it into inventory. Yeah, I'll have to, not sure how to fix that. So what you'd want to do probably is set these to maybe where only 1 is visible. Only showing you have 1, so that way it's only counting 1 in your weight. So, all right, so what I did here for your attack, so let's clean this up, is I've got a dex attack. So for daggers, they're melee, but you have close or near, and then you also have finesse or thrown. So you can use your strength or your dex to attack, which is why I created these two. Damage is always just going to be straight damage. So let's think about this. Let's go back to what we have. We have weapon mastery. So I'm going to say, for the sake of this video, that I'm going to say my weapon mastery is dagger. So what that means is I get a +1 to attack and damage for this weapon. And I also get to add your level round down. So I'm only 1, so that's not going to help me, but I do get +1 to attack and damage. So what I'll do is I'll open each attack, and under this normal here, actually, sorry, just make it easier. So I'm going to scroll this up and make this a 1 for my dagger attack, and then 1 for my damage. And I'll show you that should work. Okay, so that's for weapon mastery. So we're done with that. And then I also have mighty, which adds your constitution modifier if positive to your gear slots. Okay, sorry. I thought it was one other, there was something else, I swear, with half orc. Yeah, oh, you know what? I think I accidentally might have drugged that over. Let's just put this back. Still working this out. Make sure, I don't know why that mighty is showing. It should show as mighty. Do this and just make sure I get it fixed before I finalize. +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls with this melee weapon. All right, or with melee weapons, right? Yeah, with melee weapons. So this is a melee weapon, so I get +1 to attack. So I'm going to make this a 2 and this a 2 because I have my mighty and I have my weapon mastery. And now one of my talents was +1 melee and ranged attacks. So I'm going to say +1 melee attack. So that's now going to be a 3. And then I also get +1 to my throne. So I'm going to change this down here. What I don't know with the throne is if I should add my mighty. Yeah, I'm going to say no for mighty, and then weapon mastery. I'm going to say that you should get it here. So I'm going to go ahead and do it here. 2. All right. So let's see. I'll have to check out why mighty wasn't firing. But so now what we would do is if we want to attack, and I'll show in the combat tracker next time. But if I'm attacking normally, I'm going to click this, and it will look at the armor class. So if you look at the way this is set up, it's looking attack AC. It's going to measure against the armor class. This value that I added here is all my bonuses that we just walked through. So in this case, I'm getting 1d20 +1. So dagger is, I'm using the dex attack. So we're going to say I'm using this with finesse. So I get my +1, and then +3 because of all the different pluses I got in my talents. And then if I want to throw it, at least how I've interpreted it, is I only get a +2. But I'm using my strength modifier when I throw. That's a -2, even though I get a +2, they're canceling out. And then if I want to throw with advantage, I can throw with advantage here and double click on advantage. So now it's going to give me my 12, the highest of them, +1, which is my dex modifier, +3. There's other things I've done. I've coded backstab and some other things, but this has already gotten a little bit long. That's character creation. I have other roles that I'll show later. So if you look here, you'll see that I've coded all the different talents. I've got spells set up. I've got all my different spells and my wizard spells. And I have these coded for like my damage. In this case, damage 1d6 for burning hands. So there's more that I'll show you on that, but that's character creation. I hope that's helpful for you folks, and I will be posting this as soon as I can on Fantasy Grounds. So in the meantime, I hope to see many of you on the Fantasy Grounds forums, or maybe on the Discord server for the Arcane Library. See you next time.